For the week 4's presentation, I am discussing polygamy in Arab world. In terms of content, first, I will explain what a polygamy is. Second, I will provide explanations on a topic, why it was permitted, and I will explore some historical backgrounds about the cause. And third, I will take a closer look at some of the misconceptions about polygamy in Arab countries. And finally, I will explain today's polygamy, such as what has been changed and why it is changing. What is polygamy? Polygamy is a term used for a mating system in which an individual has more than one mate that can either be male or female. Polygamy is a more general term that encompasses the practice of having multiple mates, and we should not be confused with the more specific terms such as polygamy, which is a term for having multiple female mates, or polyandry. This is a term for having multiple male mates. So this is visual aid for presentation that shows legality of polygamy in different parts of the world. And most countries in the world abolished polygamy and even consider polygamy as serious crime. However, there are countries in which people are allowed to practice polygamy. So why it was permitted in Arab countries? There are various theories about why polygamy was permitted in Arab world, and I decided to do some research on origin of polygamy tradition in Arab world. And one of the most popular theories from my research is Battle of Uhud. The Battle of Uhud was a battle between Muslims and non-Muslims, and they faced one another on the battlefield. And as a result, majority of men in Arab community died. Men had high mortality rates and lower life expectancies, which leaves widows with fatherless children. At the time, Arab women heavily depended on men for their economic survival and own protection. However, the gender imbalance from this battle put most widows and women into imminent danger. In this sense, polygamy is a good solution, the practical solution for a woman who seeks protection for herself and also the protection for her fatherless children. And this is specific verse about polygamy in Quran that was revealed shortly after this battle. This is an indication of why polygamy was permitted. And what are the misconceptions about Arab polygamy? First one is a man who practices polygamy might be responsible to wives since they can have many wives as much as they want. This is not true. This cannot be happening under the Quran's teaching. The Quran limited the number of wives to 4, while other religion or civilization that accepted polygamy does not set any limitation to the number. And this is first from Quran. If you fear you will not deal justly by the orphans, marry of the women who seem good to you, 2 or 3 or 4, and if you fear that you cannot do justice to so many, then one, the only, or the captives that your right hand possess. Thus it is more likely that you will not do injustice. Quran insisted that a man should be responsible for the maintenance of his wife or wives. If a man has more than one wife, he should provide separate living accommodation for each of his wives. And as you can see, male is heavily responsible for multiple marriages. A man must divide his time equally to all his wives A man should treat and support wives all equally, and people from out so in this sense, people from outside of Arab world would consider polygamy is irresponsible, but there are many requirements to consider if a man in our society decided to accept multiple wives. Another misconception is that polygamy is mandatory for all Arabs. This is not true. Uh, in fact, polygamy is neither mandatory, not encouraged, but just merely permitted. And also, in fact, the Quran encourages monogamy over polygamy. And last misconception about polygamy is that people tend to think Arab women as subordinate to a man in polygamy. In fact, Quran strengthens the status of a woman in a society. According to the John Espacio from his book Islam the Straight Path, Muslims regard this Quranic command or verse as strengthening the status of a woman and the family, for it sought to ensure the welfare of single women and widows in a society whose male population was diminished by warfare, and to curb unrestricted polygamy. So permission to practice polygamy is not associated with mere satisfaction of passion. So in this sense, women should not be treated as property, and their voices should not be ignored by any males. So this is not true misconception. How about today's polygamy? There are still many parts of the world where polygamy took place. However, things are getting changed. Women, unlike previous eras, have easy access to receive good education thanks to the development of technology and welfare environment. They are becoming more educated, self-reliant, and most importantly, independent. They see no values or needs to be a second wife of a man, since they can take care of themselves very well. And also, there are many issues with polygamy. Quran requires every man who chose polygamy to provide financial support to all his wives, but some men chose not to do, becoming irresponsible. Also, the conflicts between first wives and other wives are very serious. Wives are becoming jealous of each other and often resulted in lawsuits against each other. And many women now learn that polygamy is too costly for them, therefore they should avoid it. To wrap up, I went over the definition of a polygamy and explained why it was permitted, and give some historical backgrounds such as Battle of Uhud, and also provides misconceptions about Arab polygamy. And finally, I mentioned today's polygamy, such as what has been changed, why it is changing. I hope this presentation gives you the better understanding of polygamy around the world. Thank you.